It's Wednesday. Welcome to our Wednesday Wellness Tip. So for today's physical tip, I'd like to talk about blue zones. You're probably familiar with the book, The Blue Zones, by Buettner, that came out several years ago. He was a researcher who went to areas around the world who had the highest percentage of centurions. In other words, people who lived over 100. The intention was to see what are they doing, how are they living so long, and then reverse engineer that to areas around the world to help improve our longevity. So he found out some interesting things. First of all, number one, they ate more of a plant-based diet. So lots of fruits, vegetables, legumes, more of a plant-based diet, no refined carbohydrates or processed carbohydrates. And then second of all, they were very active. They walked a lot, moved. Their activity was much higher than the average American. And number three, they had a strong social network. So in other words, they had families that were very tight, or communities that were just very social. And the fourth thing is that they had a strong purpose. And I got to hear Dr. Andrew Weiss speak about this because he went to Okinawa, which is one of the blue zone areas. And he mentioned that the most dramatic difference between Okinawa and the United States was the culture, especially towards older people. And he mentioned that older people in Okinawa are revered and honored for their wisdom and their contribution. In fact, he mentioned that the biggest struggle among siblings in Okinawa is who is going to be able to take care of their aging parent or grandparent. Wow, what a difference that is from our culture. So recently, in the last several years, Buettner has taken his research to a new level. And what he's done is to go into cities and institute some of these principles. He's now worked with 54 cities across the United States. And basically he works with the mayor, the city council, the school board to try to institute these principles, such as a healthier diet. He also works with the city to increase and to enhance physical activity. For instance, they put in bike paths, sidewalks where people can walk easily and be more active. So one city that he's worked with is Fort Worth, Texas. And what they were able to show in Fort Worth is that the average BMI, the average body mass index, decreased by 3% after they became like a blue zone certified city. Their smoking rate decreased by 6%. And you may think, well, that's not that much. However, when you equate this to the healthcare dollars that this potentially saved, it's $250,000 that was saved in healthcare expenses. So just a 1 or 2% change in your body mass index has enormous consequences. I was really interested in this because on the podcast I got to hear with Buettner, Dr. Victoria Mazies, and Dr. Andrew Weiss, they discussed how zip code is your biggest predictor of life expectancy. And he actually pointed out that there are counties here in Kentucky that have a 20-year less life expectancy when you compare that to cities such as Boulder, Colorado, or Santa Barbara, California. And here we are in Kentucky. So we have such an opportunity to change things. And so as the three of them talked on the podcast, they mentioned that if they could do just a few things, here's what it would be. And Dr. Andrew Weiss said that number one, he would get rid of all sugary drinks. Now, not only does this include colas, soft drinks, but he said even the energy drinks that have a high amount of sugar, vitamin drinks that have a high amount of sugar, and even putting sugar in your coffee or tea, he would get rid of all sweet drinks. And then secondly, he would get rid of processed and refined carbohydrates, processed foods and manufactured foods, and encourage that people eat what he calls lower on the food chain, which means lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of beans, legumes, lentils, all of those, because those are such great sources of protein. And then obviously less meat consumption. So these are goals that are very achievable, and here we have this opportunity right in our own state. So I encourage you to think about the principles of the blue zones, how you can eat a little healthier, how you can move a little bit more. Think about your purpose, your social connections. All of these things make a difference in your longevity. Because what we're trying to do, not just add years to our life, but make sure that the years we add are meaningful and productive. So that's our tip for today, the blue zones. And we'll include the link for the podcast because it's very enlightening and I hope you get to enjoy it. So thank you.